The start of the 2022 deer tour has been interesting to say the least. We started out in the west in scorching heat and mosquito swarms of biblical proportion, but through it all, Aaron eventually arrowed an awesome early season buck. At the same time, Jake was literally covered up in bucks in North Dakota, and in Missouri, Nick and Ted had one of the most disturbing encounters we've ever had in the woods. And Zach, well, he was busy in Colorado on an epic bow hunt for a big bull that we can't wait to share with you next August. For myself, 2022 has been a season of transition as Mindy and I pulled up roots from living in Iowa for the past 12 years and moved to our new home in South Dakota. It was definitely a bittersweet moment to leave the house where THP was born, where we shared so many of Mindy's home-cooked meals, talked hunting strategy, and laughed until our sides hurt. But with the guys' new hunting cabin taking over as THP headquarters, it was time that Mindy and I realized our dreams of living in the West. Here, we're centrally located between our families, closer to the mountains and national parks where we love to adventure, and also we're in the area that I fell in love with hunting exactly 15 years ago now. When I joined my cousin on my first out-of-state hunt back in 2007, I was drawn to the rugged western landscape, wildlife-rich environment, and the diverse hunting opportunities that the area offered. Fast forward to 2020, after nearly a 10-year hiatus, I joined my cousin again for the annual South Dakota hunt and was quickly reminded why I loved hunting in this area. Due to the non-resident hunting regulations, that season I couldn't hunt on public lands in South Dakota. So I knocked on doors and eventually met some generous landowners who gave me permission on a property that has already provided some fantastic hunts in the past 2 seasons. So for 2022, this property is now just down the road from where I live, and I felt like I had a pretty good grasp of how to hunt it. However, as I scouted and checked trail cameras, I quickly found that there was cattle roaming throughout almost the entire property, and the deer had pretty much been pushed out of the areas that I had been seeing them the past 2 years. Thankfully, one spot still showed promise, a spot that the cattle couldn't get to. So with limited options until I can start hunting public land on October 1st, that's the spot that I headed to start my season in South Dakota. All right, headed out for the evening hunt here. But my plan this evening is to hunt farther north in this property and catch movement as deer are coming out and then down into the bottom, and there's an alfalfa field. I'm gonna really have to sneak into the spot that I'm hunting because when I scouted there a few weeks ago, there was a lot of beds. It looks like mostly does and fawn beds real close to that tree that I'm hunting. I don't know that any bucks or mature bucks are gonna be bedding right there, but I don't doubt that there's gonna be does and fawns bedded close. I could hunt down lower, but then the problem becomes dealing with swirling winds. I would like to get up on top right there to where I've got a steady wind that I can blow way over the top of this field. So I'm gonna give myself plenty of time to get in there. Got a camera to check. Nice thing is I can hear the breeze starting to kick up a little bit, so I'll have a little bit of help with the wind cover, getting up in there and getting set up. I'm just off the backside of this plateau right here. The field is down below. You can just kind of see some pine trees, just the tops of them. All up on top and beyond that is where I was finding all those deer beds. So I'm just staying below the lip here and work my way around. Got about 200 more yards to go to get to the tree. Well, that's what I was afraid of. It just peeked up on top here, and I'm just 20 yards away from the tree that I want to be in. And there's a doe bedded. I'm gonna have to find a way to gently bump this thing off. Maybe roll a rock down the hill or something out of sight where I can't see what the noise was. I don't want it to see me and then just go blowing off and potentially spook deer that are bedded farther back in. There we go. Well, that did it. Yeah, I knew it was going to be tough to get in here, but that's about best case scenario. Not ever just go blowing. Got about 10 more yards to go. So got to get to that tree right there. Well, I'm settled into the tree. This is actually the same tree that I hunted with Ben last November when I came here. Just popped up in here for a real quick evening hunt and saw a nice buck. It was actually the deer that I missed 2 years ago.
But anyways, I better start getting some ranges here, just in case deer start moving early. So I'm set up to catch deer that are coming out of the hills here and just kind of working their way down this ridge top. It narrows down right here and then funnels down to that alfalfa field, which is 400 or 500 yards behind me here. So there's a trail that comes by at 10 yards here. I had the trail camera set up on this tree. And in the first few days, I got a number of pictures of deer coming by on this trail right here. And then unfortunately, a pine branch fell down in front of the camera. And it looks like there's just hundreds of pictures of nothing but pine needles. But there's definitely been deer coming through right here. That was a real nice buck right there. That might have been the same buck that I had on trail camera. It looks similar to it. Don't know if it's the same one or not, but wouldn't be surprised if it is. More deer coming. Does coming. Same exact thing. Just moving across the top. Out of range. Very possible something could hop the fence and come my way, but that's the same thing that buck did last year when I hunted deer, just working his way across the top on the other side of the fence. Definitely been getting pictures of him right in front of the tree right here, including like a good buck. For the 2 times I've hunted this now, I'm seeing deer doing the exact same thing. Those 2 bucks, the 1 buck last year and the 3 deer tonight, have all done the same exact thing. But either way, fun start to the season here in South Dakota.
A few days later, I got another east wind and headed back to the same spot where I encountered the mature buck, this time pushing in a little closer to where I could cover the trail that he was on. Unfortunately, it was a calm, warm, kind of a stagnant evening. There was a lot of smoke in the air, and I didn't see a single deer. So for the next week, I was tied to the computer with editing, but at least got to enjoy some of the local wildlife from my office window. The following week, Mindy and I were joined by her parents as we made our annual trip to Rocky Mountain National Park to hike and watch the elk rut in full swing, and we were treated to a front row seat of a big herd bull defending his harem from several satellite bulls. All right, here we are. It is now late September. So right now I'm on the road to Iowa. The season opens October 1st. They're gonna spend a couple weeks filming the guys, but on my way to Iowa, I'm gonna hunt my home state of Nebraska and really gonna try to fill a tag here. We are out of deer meat from last fall, and I'm gonna be spending a lot of time behind the camera and behind the computer this fall. So that's my goal, is to get it done on this short trip to Nebraska. I have a doe tag for this unit, and I'm not gonna be very picky when it comes to buck either. I'll be more selective with some of my other buck tags this fall. So that is the plan. Gonna be truck camping and just trying to be mobile as I can, bouncing around, checking out new areas. Probably gonna be doing a lot of scouting, looking for fresh sign, and I would imagine a lot of that is gonna revolve around oaks. So I'm excited to get back out in the field with a bow in my hand. I love this time of the season. It's late September. Hopefully we can keep the ball rolling here in Nebraska, and then it's on to Iowa. Like I said, hopefully put a deer on the ground and get some meat for the freezer on this trip. That's the goal. All right, just starting out the morning here doing some shooting, make sure the bow's still on. But while I'm at it, just figured I'd give you a quick run through of how I camp, my truck camping setup. I mean, it's super simple. It's nothing sophisticated. Wherever my truck is at, I have everything there I need. So I really enjoy rolling that way, and here's how I have it set up. I've got a cot, 4-inch memory foam mattress, sleep really well on that. And then under the cot is where I store totes, tools, deer cart. So in the totes, I've got all my camping gear, all my hunting gear, and then got a frame pack in case I need to pack a deer out. Water, it's crucial, especially early season. Hot hunts like this, supposed to be in the upper 70s and 80s. Gonna be doing a lot of hiking. Staying hydrated is critical. Got the tethered Phantom saddle, using the 1-sticks. I got my bow here, Bear Refine. Hunted with this last fall. Shot some deer with it, shot turkey with it this spring. Really like this bow. The only thing I guess I've done differently now is I mounted a 2-piece quiver on the bow, and then I added a Hitman stabilizer with the offset to be able to balance the bow properly with the extra weight of the quiver and the arrows on the other side. And love the Refine. I got my hunting pack here. It's a Everly Stock X2. Really like this pack. Fit all my saddle gear in it, fit all my filming gear in it. The thing that makes it real heavy is the camera arm and the base and all that. Otherwise, it'd be a pretty light pack overall. But when you're rolling with 4 or 5 cameras and all that, it adds up for the pack. So it tends to be pretty heavy, so it gives me a pretty good workout when I'm running the hills. Got a fat tire bike, which stays right in there. Got a target, of course, been shooting this morning. Then the back seat, I've just got the seats folded up, got the big cooler, dry food, camera bags. I got so much camera gear, it's ridiculous. Go to the front here, got my big wildlife camera in the front seat. All right, so I've got my optics case here, got the Vortex spotter, but I really love these 15X Diamondbacks for doing a lot of glassing. You mount that on a tripod and you can really be effective at scanning the landscape and gridding and just making sure that you're covering everything thoroughly. Really like the field of view you get out of the 15X binos for glassing game in open country. So for power, I've got a Goal Zero power bank. I've got it plugged in so the truck continuously powers it when I'm running, so it keeps it charged. And then I'm charging all my batteries and power banks and cameras off of this. Works real well. And on the other side, got a cooler. This is what I'm keeping my food in. Clothes storage, another camera bag, archery tackle box in case I need to fix something on my bow. I brought several trail cameras along with me. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I guess I didn't really talk about the truck, but I mean, as you can tell, it's a Toyota Tundra. I've got the topper on it, high-rise topper with a roof rack. I've got that with the thought in mind of camping out of it, giving a little bit more headroom. And yeah, I just really like the setup overall. Normally I would have a kayak on top. I didn't bring it on this trip. So that's it. That's my mobile hunting rig. Like I said, it's nothing fancy, but it works well for what I do. But now I need to get to scouting and get after it here. I've only got maybe 2.5 days, 3 days tops, try to get a deer on the ground here.
All right, it's about 3:30 right now. I'm heading in for the evening hunt. Haven't deer hunted this spot before, so not entirely sure what to expect. See, there's up high, got more heavily timbered ridges where I'm assuming deer are bedding or bedding in these shaded draws. So anyways, you got ridges, it drops down into this more scattered trees, pockets of oaks, and then it falls off into bottoms where there's hayfields out on private ground. So my thought tonight is just to scout my way in, check out these pockets of oak, see if there's any acorns on the ground, see if there's any sign around them. And if there is, I'll probably set up somewhere in here and then be in a spot where hopefully I can see a good amount of distance and just, cover a lot of ground visually tonight. This patch of oaks is looking pretty promising right here. Beaten trail, 3 of them, kind of all funneling through this gap in between these oaks. Pretty decent amount of sign in here. Lots of acorns on the ground. Well-worn trails coming through here. I like the looks of this spot. Pretty much all these trees have dropped acorns, but the majority of them are just to my left. Definitely a bunch of deer moving through this area. I'm not in super tight to what I believe is the bedding cover, but I can see a long ways. I can see probably 200 yards in both directions. There's just a bunch of trails that converge. Down in this bottom, there's drainage right there, and a little bit of a drain right there, and there's trails basically all kind of connect right out in front here. So if they don't come into the oaks and feed, I mean, that's just the way the terrain lays out, just naturally. There's a lot of trails that funnel through here. So anyways, here's a setup. 360 camera, main camera. Keep my backpack down low. I got the head mount camera there. Put that on in a little bit. And I've got a wide open shot here, anywhere from 12 to 20 yards if they come by on the trail, and then point blank if they come into the oaks and feed. Just as soon as the sun goes down, wind quit, thermals are dropping, just through some milkweed. It's basically just going down and then following the contour of this drainage here. So unless we get a gust of wind, I should be safe. Or anything out in front of me comes down this trail.
All right, it's about 10 o'clock, just made it back to camp. Took me a long time to get out of the field because I had a pile of deer come in and start feeding in that patch of oaks about 60 yards away, right at the end of legal shooting time. Actually, about the last 10 minutes of legal shooting time, the deer just started pouring out. 2 or 3 white-tailed does, a mule deer doe, a 2-year-old white-tailed buck that came in, actually snort-wheezed at some of the does and kind of pushed them off a little bit. And then there ended up being a mule deer spike buck. Pile of deer came into the acorns there, like we've talked about, and just like if you watch the Missouri episode that Aaron and Keith had, sometimes there's just a specific feed tree, like Warren Womack talks about, that in amongst all these other trees that are dropping at least some acorns, there was one specific one they wanted to go to, and they all beelined it to that spot. Wind is picking up right now, you might be able to hear that, but next couple of days are supposed to be breezy and getting warmer, so unfortunately not great weather here. But I got a couple more days to try to get it done, try to get a deer on the ground. Got one spot identified where deer are coming to. Gonna keep scouting during the middle part of the day, try to find more and better sign, and see if we can just put a successful hunt together here in a couple days in Nebraska. So if you want to watch that video I referred to, the Missouri hunt that Keith and Aaron had, Keith shot a doe, and it was kind of a classic example of finding a feature. You can watch that video right here, and we'll see you guys on the next one.